Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Descent into Madness podcast, where today we are not going to be total bumbling idiots, because we're going to talk about something we like.
Like cheese.
Oh, God. Not
Aw.
that.
This is the cheese special that everyone's been
The
asking
cheese special.
Yeah. All of that cheesy goodness melting all over your brain.
All that cheddar dough.
for. Like mustard or cheddar.
You know what's funny is this week's cheese fact is a comparison of two cheeses. They're very similar cheeses. I'm talking about brie and camembert cheese. They're both French cheeses, as I'm sure you may know. But what's interesting is, despite how similar they are, because if you know anything about brie and camembert, they are pretty much the exact same cheese. But the first known recipes are literally 1,000 years apart. Brie was first made in the year 774, whereas camembert was 1791. So, there you go.
Okay, now we got that out of the way.
I was trying to find a way to respond.
I like it being the ongoing joke that we just hate the fucking cheese fact, but yet, because he's just going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Very
You're
interesting.
never going to stop me.
No, it's not.
That's what's glorious about cheese. Can't be stopped. The only thing about cheese is that it stops you from shitting if you eat too much of it.
I'm kind of the opposite way around. If I eat too much of it,
Are
it makes
you
me shit.
lactose intolerant?
No.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. You see, I use cheese as an efficiency system. I eat lots of cheese over the week, as well as everything else I eat. And then when it gets to the weekend, I just eat like massive amounts of prunes and beans and things high in fiber
So
and whatnot.
flush.
Yeah,
So a
See,
flush, yeah.
I save time by not having to shit during the week, whereas you and other people have to waste their precious time shitting during the week.
You see, I shit
When
while
it
I'm
comes
at
to
work.
I was about to say, I was like, I'm not wasting any time.
See, well, when it comes to the weekend, though, I just take one ungodly massive shit, completely flush my system out. I feel
can't fucking do
great,
that.
and then I can return on Monday.
I can't do that.
It's the Garfield tactic. You load up on lasagna all week, and then you continue eating lasagna, but you also supplement it with laxatives.
See, I take like 3 shits a
That
day.
sounds awful.
My stomach is like hyperactive. Like, I just have a supreme digestive system where I pretty much shit for once per meal that I eat.
Some of the stuff I manage to eat and not, destroy my internal system amazes even me.
Well,
I've eaten
sometimes I
like
think that your stomach line and your intestinal tract is just cement.
it probably is at this rate. I mean, I ate like week expired chicken salad. No, tuna salad. Oh, wait.
Ooh.
It's getting
Yeah, it was
worse.
tuna
The more you
salad.
talk, it's getting worse.
And I was completely fine. And I didn't eat like a small amount of it. No, I almost ate like the entire container.
Oh,
Good.
Yeah, I decimated what was left of that container.
Did it taste good at least?
Well, yeah. I didn't
Well-
notice it was expired until after I ate it, and I was tossing the container out and I was like, "Oh, hey, look at that."
Well, for the most part, with especially like fish food, like once it goes bad, it goes bad. And a lot of those expiration points are set to like, in reality, like 2 weeks before it goes bad. Because like after it hits that point, it could go like super bad at any day. So it's like if you ate it and didn't notice that it was bad, it was probably actually good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes this is how it is for what it do.
sometimes it not be like it do, but it is.
Dude, and my fucking computer fucking pings me one more time about my scan to computer not working on the printer because I have it disabled, I am going to flip. Because sadly, I know that the
Your
podcast
scan
can hear
to
it.
email.
It's like, so
I
the.
can't,
Yeah, I know you can't because you're
but
not
I'm also
using
not
my audio
listening.
settings. It's like the podcast gets recorded off my computer audio. The only way to change that is if I could convince you dumble dorks to actually install your own Audacity, but y'all won't.
No. That requires use of my brain, and that is difficult.
Dude, you have no idea the amount of brain usage it would have to take for me to line up all the tracks. And then, God forbid, I know your ass would be 30 minutes. I forgot to press record. I
That'd
know
be
you
what I
would
would
do
be
that.
most worried about.
Mhm.
Would
That's
be,
fine.
not
I'll just
pressing
ad
record.
lib the first 30 minutes, anyways.
That's why I sit here and watch audio peaks. Like, I do make sure everything's coming through all right.
I keep glancing down and checking the actual mixer box. But that
one
mean
kind of
nothing.
lies. You don't really want to trust that one.
Well, no, but that just means that it's currently like picking up audio. That doesn't mean it's recording.
Yeah, I was
It
like, it
just
doesn't
means
mean
it's
your computer's
functional.
picking up audio. It means that the DAC is
Oh, yeah,
picking
yeah.
up audio.
Yep.
See, I just kind of talk
Whatever.
and hope that it gets me. If it doesn't, I'll repeat myself.
That's just you in fucking general.
If it doesn't, we will ignore you.
I have no problem repeating myself.
We're
Quite
aware.
honestly, I'm waiting for the episode where I talk the entire time while you guys are having a conversation, and I'm just talking to myself.
See, I
'Cause
think it'll be one of
we
those
all know
things
it'll
where
happen.
Chris and I will be talking, and I'll just mute you, and then like we'll just sit there. I'm like, all right, Chris, we got to check up on him. Unmute you, and you're just still gonna be going. You're gonna be talking about like Malaysia.
Yeah, I blew up
No,
Malaysia.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no reason to talk about Malaysia. It was blown up.
I blew up Malaysia.
Blew up Malaysia.
After all, that's how you become a police officer.
So, on that note,
It's time to end.
no, that's just 7 minutes. Perfect. We'll just sit there and keep repeating the same
Yeah,
clip over and
label
over.
it
to
the
make an
cheese
hour.
episode. There you go.
The
That's what you
Chaz.
get. That's all you get.
I want to talk about
Cheese
D&D shit.
episode.
D&D, Dick and Dinner.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh yeah.
God damn it. That was quick.
Or dinosaurs and donkeys.
So the one thing that I want to focus on for sure,
Dinosaurs and
because
donkeys.
I'm interested in the process, but not in doing it myself. But Chris, I know you're doing it. What is it like, and how are you able to like homebrew stuff like without? Because obviously you got to keep in mind with some things that are, make sure they're not belligerently overpowered on purpose. I know some people that make homebrew classes and stuff are just like, yeah, I'm gonna make this as retardedly OP as possible.
Well, see, I actually haven't been very confident with any of the homebrew I've made. So, but it's kind of
Can't be the only one that's tried to do it. That wasn't a question.
well, the first thing is always just kind of comparing it to, like, for subclasses, let's say like warlock patrons, is comparing it to the other patrons, because you want to make it something that's at least thematically different, to where there's a reason that you couldn't just reflavor something else. Like, just take like Eldritch Blast, for example, and go, he who mines red. Kind of a thing. To where they are actually different abilities from what's already there, but also comparing it to how strong abilities should be at that level. I don't know. It's tough to make something that's original, at least mostly original, that's strong enough that it wants to be used, but not too strong to where it's the entirety of the class is just abusing this feature. It's a lot. And then there's always just, you've got to find a DM that is okay with it being run in their campaign and just have to field test it.
I'm gonna homebrew a chimichanga-based class.
A chimichanga class. That would be
Chimichangies.
horrendous.
Yeah, for context, I have characters that are almost always based on something absurdly stupid. In our current campaign that we're playing, Curse of Strahd, I have made a character based on Jared Fogle, and I am franchising the shit out of the entire Curse of Strahd campaign with subways. And so far, it's kind of working. I built one subway. I'm working on building another one, and I am also somehow a sandwich god.
So, one thing I wanted to bring up in this podcast is the idea of possibly doing special episodes with like a custom campaign, for the podcast. And stuff like that, like maybe like every 5 episodes or something. Like starting with episode 15, because this is 11. We do a podcast, and that's where we can see if any of our other guys want to jump in and try to do it. And obviously, they're not going to be full length campaigns. Like our Curse of Strahd sessions are several hours, whereas these would be an hour and a half to 2.
Well, you also have to remember, like, a good hour and a half of our normal sessions are us gorging ourselves on whatever food we bring.
Yeah, but also, I mean, still, the sessions are ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
compared to what we would do for this, they're way longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, even content-wise, just in just for our own personal game sessions. But I know it was something I threw out the idea to everyone a long time ago, before we even started this podcast, about doing a D&D type podcast thing. And the reception seemed to be pretty decent. I know B Larch said he'd like to. I
Yeah.
bet we can get Jesse in on it.
Yeah, I'm just worried about time constraints. Stuff in D&D takes a long time.
Well, that's why, I mean, it's not going to be anything huge. Like,
Yeah.
overly
No,
complex.
right, but even basic combat sessions, getting through everyone's turn orders can take anywhere from, depending on how many creatures are there, 30 minutes to 2 hours.
There's that, and it could also be a more story-based campaign
Well,
that's
as long
easier
as
for the
you
listeners to follow.
know what the fuck you're going to do on your turn.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long.
You see, it's very easy if we're all barbarians, because then our turns take a maximum of like 30 seconds.
Yeah, the issue with turn stuff and taking length is when everyone tries to do, oh, well, now that it's my turn, now I'm going to read up on this ability because I can buff this, and then with that buff, I can get advantage here because I can move to this one, and then actually you have to do this now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
Well,
when
yeah, but
turns bog down.
That comes primarily from classes and all of their abilities. Like, let's say a level 5 cleric has 19, or depending on the domain, has 19 different or known spells at one time, including cantrips, different levels of spells. And since it's a lot of reacting to what happened during the round, going, do I need to heal an ally, buff an ally, go fight something, block something, go do a certain like environmental thing. There's a lot that goes into D&D, especially in combat rounds. To where, sure, like the martial class, the barbarian is easy. Like, on my turn, what's the closest enemy? I'm gonna go punch it. There's not as much reacting to environment as other classes have to.
Yeah, it's a very large difference between magic-based classes and
Yeah,
but
martial and a
I don't
caster.
think, I
because-
think you're extremely misexaggerating how long combat will take.
Well, because by comparison, though, I mean, the most lengthy abilities for, like, say, a monk or a barbarian are just kind of a, hey, I can do this, like, along with this, and there you go. Whereas some spells are like, oh, well, because he rolled this, I can change that, blah blah blah. add a paragraph of rules, which just explaining it if nobody, because who genuinely wants to sit there and remember all of the rules legitimately? That's kind of boring. That's why we have, computers and phones and notebooks. We write shit down so we don't have to think about it. And you still have to read it out every time you use it.
No, but also like, I'm not saying. I mean, especially for the first session, if we were to do this, like this isn't like I would hope everyone that's going to play it isn't going to make the most balls to the wall as intricate characters they can, because there is no guarantee this will even continue after one thing. It's a very simplistic, dumbed down thing just to try it out.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of that stuff can be mitigated if you just know your character and read up on your shit.
Right, but I mean, again, with like spells and stuff, can you name 19 different spells right off the top of your head to me right now? And what
No,
they all do?
You're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying as
Well-
long as you have a general idea of what you're going to do, and you're not going to stop, okay, it's my turn. Let me go and read this for 5 minutes straight and not say a word while I'm reading this.
No, well, yeah, ideally you wouldn't sit and stare for 5 minutes, yeah, but there's still a lot of thinking on, okay, what am I doing this turn because this happened right before, especially when it comes to casters. Unless we all did fighter,
You also
or
have to
everyone
think
did a martial.
the very start of this would probably be a level 1 campaign, so we're not going to have to deal with those absurdly large spell lists and whatnot.
Yeah, and again, level changes it too,
Yeah.
because
And
levels
if
go from
I
anywhere
roll
1 to
for
20.
everyone, we're just going to crit everything. So there you go.
Yeah, I was like, it's not going to, I mean, there's nothing set in stone. Like,
Right.
it's going, I mean, we're going to do this as just a play test just to see. And then if things go right and we like it, we can move to recording these episodes on like Saturdays and such to where they can be 3-4 hours long.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm not, so I'm not trying to say,
Ooh.
and I think you're getting bogged down and mishearing me. I'm not arguing that like you're a bad player for having to read up on your spells because you're a spellcaster. I'm saying that's like, because you're saying how the way, at least how I understood what you were saying, was that everything's going to go good until we hit combat, and then that's 2 hours of just pure combat. Like, even with like Curse of Strahd, with you guys being level 5, still relatively new to the characters, with a decent amount of enemies in combat, the longest combat we had was 45 minutes long. And I think that's even stretching it.
Right, but I mean, at least in our current campaign, it's 3 marshals and a warlock. That's already very simple abilities. I'm just worried about just time. I wonder if...
I
don't
like
know.
the idea of doing a test run.
Oh yeah, no,
Seeing
It's like,
how it
that's
works
why
out.
I'm
And then if
saying
we
we're going to
do,
do test runs, and like, because it's going to be, and if this is something we want to do, I will heavily emphasize this is very dumbed down, a like quote unquote beta test to see if this is something we would like to do, get the logistics down with it, and then after we can kind of get the feel for it, then we can move into real D&D and stuff like that. Like, this is not like, because we've all been playing D&D together for the past year. This is not like the next Curse of Strahd. This is basically going to be a one-shot, see if we like it, and then do another one-shot using the same characters, see how that goes, and then if we're still into it, then we can revisit the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, it's going to be longer than just an hour. I'm not saying it's just an hour. Like, we'd have to dedicate, like, minimum of 2 hours. But I think we could get a half-decent little playtest run, like, whether it just be pretty story-heavy or combat-heavy, something like that, just to feel it out within 2 to 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, well, 2.5 hours is better than hour and a half.
No, yeah, I wasn't saying hour and a half. I know that is an impossible task.
Gotcha. Okay, because when you said hour and a half earlier, I see what you were doing, comparing it to the current length of podcast episode. So I was whoa there. I was like, an
That's why I
hour
was
to
like, why
play
the fuck are you
D&D?
getting so damn defensive over spellcasters? It's like, yeah, you
No,
have
I
to
was
read
like,
your
bro,
shit, but it's like
I was
it's
like, an hour? I'm like, holy
see,
shit.
that's what I was sitting there hung up. I'm like, dude, as long as you semi know what you're doing and
Oh,
semi know your character
yeah,
sheet,
no, out of a
it's not
2-hour
going to take
session,
that long.
I mean, yeah, 2 hours. That, okay, see, that changes. That
God.
changes how this works.
We work
You
together
see-
every day, and yet we can't fucking communicate with each other intelligently.
See, I
Because
like your,
instead of asking for clarification, we just go, oh, yeah, no, that's what he meant, and just continue with that.
Yep.
We know each other well enough that I know exactly what he meant.
Well, half the time we're fucking right.
Yeah, half the time. Just, of course, we recorded the one time when we were wrong.
I do like to point out, I liked your proposal of the longer Saturday ones because then for our cheese facts, instead we could do cheese.
Well,
Ding.
no, I think he
No, no,
meant
no.
The
longer
cheese
Saturday
hour.
ones on top of like maybe I don't know, because how would that work with our current
So,
playing
okay,
agree?
that was like, it's like basically this podcast is just us talking about it, and then we probably won't get engagement, but like then viewers can put ideas in the comment section or whatever. But it's like that's stuff I want to work out, and like I don't plan on doing this in every episode thing, like 5 episode specials. So we also have that null time between them where we're not doing anything, and that's where we'll have to figure out who's going to be on the player roster. Because honestly, for just doing the podcast, I know Jesse would be down, and he's available almost all the time. So I know we could pick him up, and 3 people would be plenty for what we're trying to do and field test it. I can see if everyone else would be willing, but we'd have to feel out the schedule because it's also going to be another game commitment on top of our current game for, that kicks off every other Saturday.
Right.
It's like with this
That is
being
a good point.
with this being every 5 episodes, it does kind of give us that grace to where like if we're like, okay, I'm not available that Saturday, but I'm available the Saturday before or something like that. Like we can record multiple D&D episodes and release them just when there's time, as opposed to, we can't record episode 20, the next D&D episode, until we record episode 19. See what I'm saying? So like we can do, like, I know we already try to record a week ahead of schedule, but it's like it gives us that same flexibility, but almost tripled insurance that we could try to get stuff done ahead of time according to schedules.
Right.
And I'll definitely have to reach out to Jesse for sure, because I know he's expressed interest in wanting to do the podcast anyway, and I feel like that would be a good one to bring him in on. And shit, he might even want to DM it. Like, I don't have to be the one that runs the game. And,
Which is true.
but it doesn't bother me. And it's like I already have a Roll20 account, and that'll probably be the best one to use because what I'll probably end up doing is recording the game screen so we can actually see, the viewers can actually see kind of what's going on a little bit, even though it's primarily audio. We'll have to see. That's just kind of stuff
Especially
I wanted
since
to
we
talk about.
Currently upload only on YouTube. I mean, it would make sense. There's no sense in not having a visual component for that.
Yeah, and it's like that's the whole point of this episode. I wanted to hash some stuff out with that and get ideas. So I've been brewing on a lot of this stuff for a while, trying to figure out the logistics of it.
Right. Yeah, no. I'm with it.
Michael, I'm guessing because of what you said tonight's limit was, you're done with 7s.
For this week, the reason why is
Back at it next week.
it depends on our workload currently.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
So, in honor of the great teacher Mr. Smith, he would always say like, "Oh, there's always something to do." Yeah, I can testify against that. That is complete bullshit. We managed to work ourselves out of work. So we are waiting on. We literally forced another department into mandatory overtime because we did everything so well. So I've I literally spent last night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. sandblasting parts. That was pretty much all I did last night. So, uh,
Gotcha.
we're just so ahead on work that we don't have anything to do, so I can't justify going in for the overtime. Otherwise, I would probably still be going in for overtime.
It's like because we need to get a feel because if we aren't available
Yeah,
on
I'll let you know what my
Saturdays,
weeks look like.
even though it is volunteer overtime, isn't it? So is there like
Yeah,
you could say, hey, Tuesday I'm going to come in at my normal time.
yeah, I can always just like negate it. It's just because of the way that coding works and everything's really timing based. If someone else isn't there, we can't just leave one person to do everything. And so the whole thing with last week was we had someone gone, so both of us third shift workers came in to cover up for that.
Gotcha.
So
All right. Yeah, it's like let us know how that is. I'm sure you'll probably find out more tonight now that you're thinking about it.
yeah,
So
it's all dependent on how our workload because we coat the tools for MA Ford and our own tools. And so it really depends on what kind of work we're getting from them and what work we're actually getting to us. Um, and the department that's supposed to get work to us is currently behind. So they're working mandatory 10-hour days and mandatory Saturdays.
gotcha. Okay, well, yeah, just let us know. Otherwise, anything you would like to see, like campaign wise, any certain setting, and anything else. Like, we're here to hash out all the ideas. Basically, like a not session 0, but session -1.
Yeah,
Session
I've
point
got an
5.
idea. We've been talking about it for a long time. I don't know if we
Mm-hmm.
want to do it as a longer campaign or as a test for a one shot, but pirate campaign. I want to be a pirate. Yar hard diggity dee.
There is always that idea.
Okay, that's one.
I'm not gonna lie. When he said we've been talking about it for a while, I was like, "Ooh, I bet he wants to be a pirate." Because
Yeah.
I was like, I like that.
Yeah, I have no idea how to run a fucking pirate campaign, to be honest with you.
I have no idea either.
It's like
I
it's
mean,
beside doing like the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, put like an example of it. Oh, you're a pirate, but you just use your boat to travel from A to B. It's like that's about the only way I know how to do it. It's like
Right.
otherwise, what else? You can only fight so many krakens.
I was thinking more along the lines of something like you could start off in a port town. We can fight sailors and have ship battles and whatnot.
No, I'll
Steal
jot that
steal
one
from
down
merchants
as a
for
one
loot.
shot possibility. Like that would be decent. I could probably pull something off pretty well for like a 2.5, 3 hour one shot.
I mean, look at
Camp.
Pirates of the Caribbean. They didn't only fight krakens.
I haven't seen any
I
of them.
think.
I haven't seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
All right. Well, go fuck yourself then. I guess I don't know.
Good movies. We should watch
Hey,
them all in honor of Johnny Depp in his current struggle against his evil wife.
He's been in the news a lot lately. I haven't been able to see any trial results. I have no idea what's going on.
I think the trial is currently ongoing. Do you know what the whole thing was like with what happened?
I know basically Amber Heard actually abused the shit out of him and basically lied and said it was him abusing her.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty
it
much
pretty obviously came out that she lied.
yeah.
Like I know basically he's like almost suing defamation of character because he lost. They were going to make a new Pirates of the Caribbean, but they canceled it because Warner Brothers or whoever makes the show canceled their contract with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, there was the same thing with the new like Fantastic Beasts movie. He was for the last two he was playing one of the main villain Grindelwald. but they changed the actor for the new one that like just came out
Mm.
because of all of these allegations, and like obviously they can't, say, well, oh well, this is our stance on it. They have to go with the basis of, he could be wrong. So it's the guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, that's a shit part with cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's not so much cancel culture. It's just kind of the like a lot of things have to be brought into the light on the whole situation, and so we're just kind of getting to that point of like we need to know what's going to happen and where it's all going to go. I
Gotcha.
personally love the guy. I would never think he'd do anything wrong. Granted, I don't know him personally, obviously. Otherwise, I would not be here. I would have overdosed on cheese by now. But
You say that like you have a personal story, like he flew in and grabbed you as you were grabbing your last thing of aerosol cheese whiz.
my aerosol cheese was no, no. But God, now I want cheese whiz. Cheese was good. Cheese whiz and chicken and a biscuit.
That slaps. That slaps something different.
It does.
So,
Cheese
other
whiz.
any other ideas besides pirates? But I mean, like, and not just campaign settings, but like thematics. Like, Curse of Strahd is very grim, dark horror. It's we want very
So
campy, or heroics and ventures,
I
knights and
know
nobles.
I know I brought it up to you
9/11.
one night. No, we're not doing a 9/11 campaign.
Whoa.
Whoa there.
God damn
Whoa.
it.
Hey,
Yeah, you bet.
look.
And that's going to do it this week for tonight's episode.
It's September 11th. You're in the
That's
84th
the
floor.
see that's
Roll a
the
deck
September
save.
11th That's the September 11th special, okay?
Roll a deck save.
God.
And if you're on the floor of direct impact, con.
Good Lord. No, I was gonna say before you shot yourself in the foot. Fucking
Shot all of us in the foot. Gave
I
me
I
goddamn
remember
psychic
pitching that
damage.
idea to a Dark Souls kind of themed campaign.
It's also just hard as shit.
Not so much the hard as shit part.
Make you cry.
No. More like the thematics, the kind of like dark, mutated monsters with if you look into it, like intricate kind of sad backstories and whatnot.
Gotcha. So you want that? That's like more horror themed.
A little bit, yeah.
Like almost like Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I was thinking like along the lines of the Souls games, Bloodborne and whatnot.
Oh dear God. You see a health bar pop up in your vision. Roll initiative.
Yeah.
I would do that too. I'd be like your character, see a health bar. It's time to play, bitches.
Oh yeah, no. See, I
Oh,
was
and adding like rolling No, see, because then
no,
it'd
I
be
wasn't talking about
complicated.
rolling mechanics.
I
I'm
know, but,
thinking
I want to
if
dodge
you
roll.
want to really go for the Souls phase, I'm talking boss phases. I'm talking 3-phase bosses.
Well, that's already kind of a thing.
Yeah,
We
it's
I know.
actually a
haven't
pretty
fought
common
anything.
thing for.
Yeah.
But
most
it's one of the things
bosses.
that we in our own campaigns haven't really done.
Well, to not talk shit directly on the other DM, and I haven't really DM'd for you guys ever, to be honest with you. I ran part of Cyberpunk and then a couple of one-shots, if you really think about it. Otherwise, you guys haven't really ran a campaign with me. So I am going to get you guys to, like in Curse of Strahd near Endgame, you will fight a lot of those guys. They will come up. But
Okay.
the other campaigns we played, we never continued them far enough to be able to see any of that stuff.
Right.
That's like that's where that comes from. It's like it's in the game, and I have stat blocks for it and everything, and I do plan on using them. It's
And the
just
fact that
you guys are
sometimes
level 4 right now, so
a good, well-organized party with some action economy can quickly decimate a phase. Like very quick with extra attack and advantage, disadvantage, critting, and just take a whole phase. And then it's like, oh, I thought there was going to be multiple phases for this fight. You
There
killed it in the
was.
first round.
you guys skipped to 3 immediately.
Yeah, you skipped to 3 at round 2. That's one of the parts of D&D that like always gets sad when you run higher level content.
Oh,
is to
tell
where,
me
like,
about it. Tell me about it. Yeah. It's fucking awesome to sit there and have this whole fucking stat block set up. Totally excited. It can do some awesome shit. First fucking round, I do 417 damage because I min-max the absolute piss out of my character.
Hey man, that Death Tyrant killed itself.
Hey,
That is
Death
true. Your
Tyrant
Death
died in
Tyrant
vain.
did definitely
That
kill
Death
itself.
Tyrant killed itself, man. I don't know what you want from me.
I wasn't even talking about him. I was talking about the fucking Ogre King.
Oh yeah, I know after, but like,
Fucking 390 health and got fucking one shot. So I'm like, nope, he's still alive. He now just got 3,000 health and he still died in the 4th round.
Yeah, and you didn't even have me in that fight.
Yeah, you went down right away.
well,
Even
what
though
were
I
you again?
feasibly could
Were you
have.
just a barbarian for that?
I was, and the funny thing was that I easily could have continued living. I just forgot to reuse the abilities that I had. So I was like, oh
I
yeah,
feel like
sure,
you'd have
whatever,
only
I did.
lasted for another round or two if nobody would have healed you, because that DC just goes up, doesn't it? Well, I guess it's you, so never fucking mind. Doesn't matter how high the damn DC
Yeah.
is.
It didn't matter because the Ogre King walked up and squished his head in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I didn't give a shit at that point. But we can also do stuff like that. Like we can run Festival of Champions in, for the podcast to do. I mean, that's just a combat slog.
Chestival of Fampians.
Chestival of Fapians.
Chesticles.
Jaden.
Bojiden. I don't know what made me think about it. I was going to text you this morning, but I completely forgot about it. I was just sitting there and laughing hysterically at myself in my half-awake days. You remember the robotics team name, DI?
Yeah.
Instead of disruptive innovation, we can call ourselves disruptive under innovation so we can start screaming we're the DUI team. Just talking about DUI.
I don't know.
DUI.
I liked Die Die Die.
No, that one's classic. That one's classic, but that's kind of just a spite die in general.
Yeah.
Like that's not to talk about anything else except to just ruin DI.
Yeah, no, there's some pretty awful team names out there.
There was impressively shit team names.
Impressively shit. It
Yeah.
almost sounds like a team name.
Impressively shit. That would be a great team name if you didn't have to be, oh, it's not GP. It's not GP. Ah.
Yeah, the biggest thing that always bugged me was like everyone's team names tried to be unique, but they were all either just like cringy or just fucking like you had to ask what the fuck they were talking about.
It was,
Jeff and Nene baby.
I know we're not the most elegant group of people. Like, we're not 10 out of 10 Chad Vankelsteins. We're not 10 out of 10
Who
intelligence.
the hell is Chad
But-
Finkelstein?
But we at least looked like Playboy magazine models compared to a lot of those people there. Like that was, honestly, you'd
Chad
go there and I'd come back
Finkelstein.
with a fucking ego boost
Of House Finkelstein.
because they'd sit there and come up to you. Could I see your robot? And just sit there and stare at you, and you're like, sure. Have at it, you me boy. Just don't touch it because I don't want to disinfect it.
Yeah, there are those teams. See, because I was always interested in how the builds were made, but I wouldn't go up and like start poking at everything because I understood how sensitive those robots were. So I'd ask them to show me, and it was like, fucking.
Do you remember the one kid
what it does.
that walked up to our robot with the fucking electronics board and started unplugging shit to see where it went?
Yes.
Dude, I thought
Did
I was
I-
gonna have to like carry him out of there.
Did I tell you about the kid at the fair?
Probably.
So when we were doing all this stuff at the fairgrounds, and we had our like robots on display. We had those encoders on there for this, or not the encoders, but they were the servos, and you had this like really delicate thing that you had to twist just to get it to like work right. And I'm sitting there, and my job was to tell all the kids about like the robots and how they work, and I could point stuff out to them. And this little crackhead runs up, immediately starts twisting the fuck out of that thing, and just going, "What does this do?" And as I get up to like tell him what it does, because I'm obviously not gonna start like punching the kid in the mouth, saying, "Don't touch that." As I get
Why
up to
not?
talk to him, I open my mouth, and the fucker runs away. And so like, okay. So I was like, all right, well, to stop that, I drew a little sign that says, like, please do not touch. Well, the kid comes back, pushes the sign out of the way, starts touching the robot, messing with the servos and everything, like, taking pieces off, and he goes, what does this do? What does this do? And I come up to tell him again, and he fucking runs off again. The third time this kid came up, I just looked at him and was like, don't touch the robots, kid. And he's like, can I drive one of them? And I was like, no. No, you can go away. I was not having it with that fucking kid
I'm surprised you
anymore.
didn't get kids like that usually have a parent around them that just sit there and let them do whatever the fuck they want. I'm surprised you guys didn't get yelled at by a Karen. He can drive the
No,
robot if he wants.
no, he didn't have any parents near him. He would just reappear.
He's
Like
probably there with someone else, like some vendor there or something.
I no, no, he would just run in and out of the building and would be gone for like an hour and then just reappear. Look at the robots. Was super interesting. I remember he tried to steal a controller from another kid that was driving one of those like little robots just so he could drive it, and I had to grab the controller from him, and he's like, "But I want to drive that one. That one works." I was like, "Well, if you give me a second, I can set one out for you to drive." He's like, "But I want to drive that one. That one works." And I was like, "Shut the fuck up."
Shut the
God,
Yeah, dude, I
up.
hate
it's
spoiled ass little kids like that. Like, you know
there's
damn
a
well he
reason.
lives a very privileged fucking life just by the way he acts.
Yeah. I that was my least favorite thing about the fair was the kids, and I know that's the big thing that we were there for, is to like encourage the youth to join our team and whatnot. But I have a tendency
The
to, when a child is annoying me, my first instinct isn't to like walk away or something. No, it's to sock
like the
them square in
child.
the mouth. Probably not the greatest instinct, but it is my instinct. And so I was sitting there, and good lord, that kid was getting on my nerves. You don't know how much self control it took for me to not drive the big robot into them when I saw them coming near me.
Destroy
Because
the child.
that thing, you could flatten a kid.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
Oh yeah, that thing was an absolute beast.
In fact, I watched Cody flatten herself and then have Cody flatten Smith's daughter.
No, that was
Oh.
Mason that flattened Cody.
No, what happened was I had just parked the robot because I was gonna switch out the battery, and Cody comes over and she's like, she just starts grabbing the controls. And she's like, "How do you turn this thing on?" I was like, "Well, you're not supposed to drive it. You have no driving experience with it." And she's like, "I know how to drive this better than you." So I turned it on. And the first thing she did was reversed it back into the cart and knocked her ass on the ground.
Oh, that's right. And so I just remember the one when we were at that one school and she was on the stage
Yes,
and
I remember that one too.
Mason just absolutely plowed her with that. And it was awesome. Made me so happy because she was
Yeah.
such a bitch.
Well, because what I thought was really funny was when she brought Smith's daughter over, put her on top of a chair, a swivel chair at that,
Oh
like with the wheels on
yeah,
the bottom,
I remember this now.
had the
Now it's
robot
starting
next
to
to
come
it, and
back.
I looked at her and I was like, Cody, I don't care if she's the coach's daughter, she's not allowed to drive the robot. She's a kid. And Cody started chewing me out, and sure enough, she touched the controls and swept the chair right out from underneath her. Fucking, I had to catch her before she fell. Like, she almost fell like a good 3 feet onto the ground,
No,
and
yeah,
that
she
was like that
definitely should have been
hard
up there.
concrete barn floor. And I was like, Cody, the fuck did I tell you?
Especially because the robot was
Yeah.
coded for us that knew what we were doing, so that fucker would jump on you.
Yeah,
Like, it had a sensitive ass throttle.
it really did. because the only people that were like allowed to drive it, mostly at that place, were Clark and I. There are like a few other people that were told, yeah, you can drive it around, but it was mostly just Clark and I.
Yeah, because I wasn't there. Otherwise, I was usually allowed to drive it.
Yeah. God, and were you there, or did you just hear the story about the me and the tiny little kid's lab coat?
Nope, story.
Okay, so this is good story time. Gather around. So when we were at the fair, we had that science exhibit next to us. The amazing science guy would light kids
Bill
on
Nye?
fire, and no,
Shut up.
he didn't
Get out of
have
my
a
head.
name.
Get out of my head.
Didn't have a name that I can remember. I just remember he would ask kids if they wanted to be lit on fire and shit. And every
Yes.
single time he started one of his little science shows, we would always try to go up because he would take volunteers, and we always wanted to participate. Well, there happened to be one day where he only had like 3 people show up, and so it was Clark and I, and I think like 2 girls from like another robotics team that just happened to be there. We went and sat on the floor in front of him, and when he said volunteers, we stuck our hands up. We were like, me, 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 me. And you could tell on the look of his face,
He was
he's like,
looking for anyone but you.
yeah, and he's like, all right, come up here. And I could tell he was pissed because he had us put on these little lab coats, and they were like 4 kids, so obviously we weren't supposed to be putting them on. The other people managed to put theirs on fine because they're not, 200 plus pound
You.
behemoths
Yeah,
made out of
absolute
meatballs.
fucking jokes. Just,
So what was funny to me was I looked at him and I looked at the lab coat. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to put this on. So I looked at him. I was like, do I actually have to put this on? And he was like, you wanted to be up here. So I put this thing on as best as I could, and
gotta
I
give him
managed to
credit for
only get
holding
it.
to his guns.
I Speaking of guns, I only managed to get the sleeves about a quarter of the way up my bicep before they got stuck. So I was stuck with my arms out because now my arms were stuck in the sleeves and I couldn't do anything because like if I tried to reach over to the other sleeve to like start pulling it off, I would have completely ripped the back of his lab coat. And
Nice.
so the entire time I had these fucking goggles on and I was just sat there like fucking like elbows square out and my arms down because I couldn't do anything. Because if I tried to put my arms down, I was gonna rip the shit out of it. If I tried to like put any more of it on, I was going to rip it. So I could have fully done one of those like Schwarzenegger flex things and just torn this thing to shreds. And afterwards, like the 2 girls that were from the other robotics team were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I need help. I can't get this lab coat off."
I so would have
And so
done it. I just would
and
have
so
hauled
they
I need help. I can't get the lab
Well,
coat
see,
off.
because he was there every year, and I didn't want him to see me again and be like, "You fucker, you owe me money," because I'm not about to pay some nitwit that goes to the fair for a living. And and so they had to help me pull this thing off, and I mean like legitimately, I had to just walk away from them as they're pulling to get this little lab coat off. And God, going back, if I were to go back to that show and he were to pick me, I would full on flex through that thing. I might even just like see if I can't get one of those little kid lab coats to just rip to shreds.
Nice.
You know what, Kane? If we go to the fair again this year and we get ourselves some turkey legs, we gotta go to see if his
Oh,
show is
yeah.
there.
Be like, I want in. Oh, that would be awesome.
Some of the experiments he did with his little show are actually pretty neat. Uh, I gotta say, threatening to light children on fire is pretty entertaining. It also got to the point where we had listened to his skits so much that we knew them like word for fucking word. Like we had memorized the script just as well as he did. Because every time his show went up, we were like in a a ditch. We had like no one talking to us or whatever.
Yeah, because he was definitely the main focus.
Yeah, because he had the speakers, the light show, and all that stuff. And so we would just sit there. That was like our break time every time he had a show, and we would just sit there and recite the show, word for fucking word, staring at each other. And God, it ruins your brain. Just ruins it.
You ruining it. Straight ruining it.
Ruining it.
And he had
Yes,
he
I
had
wouldn't-
that he had like an older guy that was his assistant. It was really weird.
His henchmen?
Yeah.
When they're
It was.
old, they're henchmen, not.
It was like his
not
dad.
assistants.
Since.
Yeah, as soon as you get above the age of 50, you're now a henchman.
Um.
All right, well, I think that'll do it for the podcast. Cut it off a bit early since we're just sitting here and talking about literally nothing.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's kind of what the podcast is about.
It's almost like we've done this for 11 episodes straight.
It's
I've
almost like we've been here before.
I've got a stream up in the background, and I just alt tab to it.
Oh, both of you
just to-
motherfuckers sit here and do all this other shit. I can't.
No, I know. I just have it in the
Right.
background from before the thing when I was
I
waiting.
actually only have a game up, and I'm actually playing with things on my desk.
That's your penis.
But,
Considering it's a pocket knife and silly putty, I would hope not.
he's making penises out of the silly putty
I'm
and cutting them with
sculpting.
the knife.
I'm sculpting. I'm creative.
But no, the streamer I'm watching is a YouTuber that I watch a lot of, and he just got his golden like play button from YouTube, and the first thing he did with it was start stabbing it with scissors and rip the front off.
Jesus.
Nice.
Which is it's funny because he's a really tame person because he's a Nintendo speedrunner. He plays Pokemon and Mario all the time. And he was just sitting there, he's like, oh, this one seems a lot more durable as he's got scissors in his hand and he's just stabbing at it.
Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will wrap that up here. Leave a like, comment. Let us know your thoughts on possibly a D&D podcast. Possibly episode 15 might be something to look forward to. I will discuss that with the gents here more as we get closer to it, and I hope you all have a good one.
What do you mean? Every episode you should be looking forward to.